Welcome to part 2 of the Flutter Baby top. We will be working on the sleeves, the rest of the border, and let's get our supplies and get started. I want to let you know in advance that this tutorial for part 2 is a bit long, but it is just because I wanted to be thorough with the instructions. So if you remember from the last video, we left off with the right front of this, and now we will be working with the left front of this. So on the example piece that's already finished, we finished this right front section here, this section you see right here, and now we're going to be working on the left front section, and then we'll be working with the edging and the sleeves. All right, so we're going to sorry about that. My son had a question. Okay, so we're going to work on the right front of this. So we're going to take this away and we'll reference this later. So remember, we put these stitch markers here to mark our place. So we're going to start on this side, which is the left front of the garment. So I'm going to pick up my work here and we're going to grab our yarn. So go ahead and get your yarn ready. All right, mine's kind of got tangled. My cat's kind of, grabbed them out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to get my yarn started. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with this place marker here. So I'm going to take this place marker out for the moment. And I'm going to put that back in a second. And we want to start on the right side of the work. And remember, we put this place marker here, so we're actually going to flip this over and start on this side so that your stitch markers are on these two stitch markers are on this side of your work. And I'm going to place my hook. So we're going to, actually, you know what, I'm going to put this back in here because we're going to do it this way. All right, so we're going to leave the stitch marker in there. This is going to signify where our shoulders are. Now remember, we don't want to take these out until later. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip the next 4 unworked stitches. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, so that we're only working with these 3 here. And you're going to insert your hook right here where that stitch marker is. Now, like I said, I took it out a minute ago because it's easier to get your hook in there. I'm going to go ahead and stick my hook in there. Now in a second, I'll put that stitch marker back, and I'm going to grab the yarn. And we're just going to insert your yarn here, or add your yarn that you fastened off from the other side. And remember, when we do this stitch, we're going to secure it with I'm going to pull this over here to hold it tight. And then I'm going to secure this with a chain. Now we're basically going to be working the same type of pattern we've been working on these rows, but they're just going to be going a little shorter like we did with the other ones. Okay, so we did 1 chain, and now to be clear, this is row 20 because even though we are working on this side of the work, we are still working off of row 19, which is right here, row 19. So row 19's here. So we need to, this is technically row 20, just like it is over here. So basically, essentially, you're working the same amount of stitches as you did over there, the same exact process from over here. So just to refresh your memory, we did 1 chain, so we need to do 2 more because that will make a total of 3. Okay, and then in order to secure the string you have coming from your yarn, here, I'm going to hold that down across the top of this so that way we can secure it a little bit more easily. We're still going to weave it in later, but this will just help give you that extra little stability. All right, so just like before, we're going to do 3 double crochets into this chain 3 space. It's 1, 2, making sure you keep that piece of yarn down, securing it down. That's 2 and 3. Okay, so now just like before, if you see underneath it, we have we have the chain 3 or the double crochets here in the chain 3 space, and we have that here, just like the same way we've been going this whole time. And now you can go ahead and replace your stitch marker in row 19 to make sure you have your shoulders marked, and that will come in handy later, so make sure you do put this stitch marker back into row 19. Now we'll repeat this one more time into this next one, and then one more time into here, and then work 3 double crochets in the next chain. So now we're going to work row 20, and we're going to repeat that. So we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to 3 double crochets in the chain 3 space, and this is going to mimic exactly how we did the other side. Now if you wanted to carry over that yarn again into this next one to continue it, securing it down, you could. I just did not this time, but you could if you wanted. There would be nothing wrong with that. So there you go. That is the 3 double crochets in that one, and we're going to chain 1 and do 3 more double crochets into this one. And to make it even on the other side, just like before, we're always going to add that last double crochet into the single crochet space. So there's 3 double crochets, and then you're going to do 1 more double crochet into that single crochet. Okay, so that is row 20 for the left front side. And again, if you lay this out, you can see that it's going to mimic exactly what we did over here, because we want to make those panels stick up for the shoulders and all that. So go ahead, and I'm gonna continue on. When you get to the end of this, we will meet you back here for comes up next. Okay, so what happens next is that you're going to go on to row 21. And you're going to do just like you did before. You're going to do the single crochet into that first chain when you turn, and then you're going to do 3 chains up, and then single crochet that into the chain 1 space. And if you remember, that's just the same pattern that we've been using through the whole process. So you're going to chain 3 and single crochet into the chains 1 space. Now you're going to do this repeat of this process all the way to row 37, just like on the other side. And then when you get there, do not fasten off your work, because we're going to continue on with the edging. So go ahead and do that repeat all the way to row 37, and I'll meet you back here in just a bit. All right, so now you should have completed row 36. I almost said level 36. I got video gaming on the brain apparently. Okay, so you'll completed row 37, and it should look like this, basically pretty even. If you folded this in half, it would be symmetrical. Okay. Oops, not sure what happened with my focus there. Okay, focus. All right. So now what we're going to do is continue on with the edging. We'll be working the edging in the round, and it'll be like a big giant round. It'll just continue to keep going around and around, adding the width and fullness to the top. When we get to the ends and the corners, we will skip the single crochet rows and work on the double crochet posts. So to show you what that is, when we get to the edges here, we'll be working around these double crochet posts here and not the single crochet holes here. So just so you can see that as a clarification. All right, so when you ended row 37, you were let's see, get my stuff all straightened out here. All right, so when you ended row 37, you looked like this. So what we're going to do to begin working round 1, we are going to chain 3, just like we would if we were going to continue the pattern. 1, 2, 3, and we're going to turn our work just like you had been before. And then, but now we're going to do a combination stitch of a double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochets. So double crochet, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets. So what that has done is put 2 sets of double crochets there. And this is going to help add width when we do these like this, because it gives us more chain 1 spaces that you'll see in a little bit that we'll use to start adding that fullness around. All right, so now we're going to chain 1 and do 3 double crochets into the next chain 3 space. All right, this is 3. And then we're going to chain 1 and then do that same combination of stitches, 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets. So we're going to do 2 double crochets and 2, and then we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets. All right, so essentially this is what this should look like right now. All right, so your stitches should look like this, and now we're going to turn the corner and start adding the edging onto the rest of the border. So this looks like a normal edging, except we have those 2 extra chain 1 spaces. So now we're going to pivot our work by doing a chain 1, and then remember we're skipping that single crochet spot there, and we're going to go right into the double crochet posts. So we're going to do 2 double crochets into that post, or around to that post. Sorry, I'm trying to pull my yarn up. Okay, and then we're going to chain 1 and do 2 more double crochets around that post, same post. All right, so this is what your work should look like right now, and you can see how it's starting to pivot around, making that curve there. I'll hold it up there so you can see how it's starting to curve around. It's going to make that shoulder look very seamless. Let me show you on the example. So on the example piece, this is the part right here that we have started to form. This right here. This curving effect right there. All right, and so now we're going to chain 1, skip that single crochet row there, and put 3 double crochets in the end of the next row. So this is 1, 2, and 3. All right, so that should be what it looks like now. And then we're going to chain 1 and skip the next single crochet row, and we'll continue working the 3 double crochets in the ends of the rows, or the ends of the double crochet post there, and chaining 1, and we're going to do that all the way, or 17 more times all the way down, and I'll meet you back here in just a second to show you this next step. All right, so I've come to the corner of after you've done this first panel down the row here, and I just wanted to show you that you just continue on the same way you were doing the 3 double crochets and chaining 1. The only time you're going to do the combination of 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets is in the corners. In the corners here and down at the bottoms, and that's going to help you pivot around and make it a smooth transition. But here in the shoulders, if you just work the same stitches and it will work just fine. All right, so I'll meet you back here when we get down, when you get back to the end here. Just remember when you're pivoting around the corners to do the 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, then chain 1, then come over here and do that same process. And I'll see you back here in just a second. Okay, so hopefully you have made it to this point and you're on your last stitch that had 2 double crochets, then a single crochet stitch, and then 2 more double crochets. So now we're going to end round 1 by slip stitching your stitch into the top chain of the 3 chains that you started with. So we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into that top one. Okay, so now your piece should look like this. And you should start seeing some of how it's getting wider on the edges here. So this is the edge. And you can see how it starts to get a little wider here. Okay, so now we're going to begin round 2. All right, in round 2, we are going to start with chaining 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to single crochet in the next chain 1 space. So this would be your first chain 1 space here. So we're going to single crochet into that. Okay. Now repeat this all the way around, joining with a slip stitch into the first chain 3 space. So we'll slip stitch when you get all the way to the end. You're going to slip stitch into this first chain 3 space that we created. Okay? I'm going to show you one more time. We're going to chain 3. And we're going to slip stitch into the next chain 1 space. And this should seem very familiar because we've done this a billion times in this pattern. Chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 1 space. You're going to do that all the way around in every chain 1 space that you come to. Alright, I'll meet you back here as soon as you get back over here. Alright, so if you've made it around round 2, this is how it should be looking right now. You've put your chain 3s into your single crochets, chain 1 space right here. And this is your chain 3s. Okay, so now we're going to start round 3. Round 3 begins with a chain 3, then 2 double crochets in the first chain 1 space, or chain 3 space. So just like we have been in the pattern already, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to then put 2 double crochets into this first chain 3 space. So this is 1. And again, this should look really familiar because we've been doing this through the whole pattern. And that's one of the things I liked about this pattern. It was just a repeat of the same stitch, and once you got that down, it really, really worked lovely. All right. Then we're going to chain 1. So just like we have been before, chain 1. Now work 3 double crochets in the next chain 3 space. So 1, 2, and 3, and then chain 1, and you're just going to continue that pattern all the way around, just like you have been all the way around until you get back to that chain 3 space, and then you're going to put a slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, the original chain 3. So go ahead and do that, pause here, and I'll meet you back here in just a second. Okay, so now you should be like this, and we're going to begin round 4. In this row, we will begin placing stitch markers like the ones we have here. Oops, sorry, the focus there. We'll place stitch markers like the one we have here. You will need to pay close attention of the placement of these stitch markers to make sure that round 5 stitch count works up correctly, because that will play in factor here in the next row. Or round, I'm sorry, it's round. So with round 4, we're going to begin with the chaining 3. Then we're going to put a single crochet in the next chain 1 space. So that would be right here. It's going to seem very similar, but this row is going to be kind of choppy. And then we're going to do this 4 times. So we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Put a single crochet, and 1, 2, 3, single crochet, one, 2, 3, single crochet. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you're going to get out your stitch markers and place a stitch marker in that single crochet spot. just like that. Alright, so then now we are going to chain 3 again. We're basically chaining 3 and single crocheting in the chain 1 spaces, but after so many times we're going to place stitch markers. So single crochet. Alright, so we're going to do this next set at 21 times, so go ahead and do that and I'll meet you back here in a second. Alright, so now you should reach to 21. And now we're going to go ahead and place the stitch marker again, right here on the single crochet stitch. Oops, close, little booger, come on. There we go. Okay, so now we've placed 2 stitch markers. And again, make sure you're counting good, because you want to make sure that that's going to be good for the next round, because these there's different stitches at the different spots. All right, so now we've done that. So now we will chain 3 and then continue in the pattern, and we do this 5 more times. And I'm going to go ahead and do that here, and I'm going to insert the repetitions on the screen here, and that way you will you know, be able to do that, and I don't have to keep stopping and starting, and I can meet you back here. And you know, I don't want to make the video too long for you. It is going to be lengthy, like I mentioned before, but we just don't want it to be forever. I understand. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do this here. Single crochet. And like I said, I'm going to insert the how many times of the repetition of this and place where the placement of the stitch markers are in here. So I'm going to do that, and I'll meet you back here when we finish this round. Okay, so you should be at the end of round 4, and then your last 3 chains that you did, you're going to slip stitch into the beginning of that first 3 chain that you did. So it should look like that. Okay, so now we're going to start round 5, and round 5 we're going to begin with chaining 3 stitches again. So 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to do a combination of a double crochet, chain 1, and 2 double crochets in the first chain 3 space, which is right here. So we're going to double crochet, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets. And then we're going to put 3 double crochets in the next chain 3 space. And you always remember to chain 1. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is repeat this. So we're going to put, so essentially the pattern is going to do is have you do 3 double crochets in each chain 3 space, and every time you get to your stitch marker, the stitch before and the stitch after, so these 2 chain spaces right here, you're going to do that combination of 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double, 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double, and then in the stitches in between you're going to do the 3 double crochet stitches. So I'm going to work up until we get to that point here. So we have one more set of 3 double crochets. Oops, lost my stitch there. Alright, so now we're at that stitch just before the stitch marker, so we're going to do 2 double crochets, chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets, So now it should start to look like that. And this is going to basically add some more width and to the top there, so it makes it a little wider for the collar. So you'll continue that pattern of 2 chain 1 2 on before and after each stitch marker, and then 3 double crochets in each one in between. And I'll meet you back here at the end of round 5. I also want to remind you that in this row, do not remove the stitch markers. We will remove the stitch markers when we get to round 8. So just keep the stitch markers in there all the way around the piece. And again, I'll meet you back here at the end of round 5. Okay, so the top should start looking like this. You're gonna notice it's gonna start to curve in because it's starting to form the fullness around the neck and the arms and the body. And that's going to give it this look, like this one right here, where it folds out like this. So this is what we're starting to see, this fold. So now we're going to do round 6 and 7. And round 6 and 7 are just a repeat of rounds 2 and 3. Rounds 2 and 3 were the chain up. So the rounds 2 would be chain up 3, and then single crochet into the next chain 1 space. So for our case right now, it would be this one right here. And then you'll do that all the way around the one time. And then for round 7, you repeat round 3, which is the same of the pattern we've been doing the whole time, which would be to double crochet 3 into the chain 3 spaces all the way around. So go ahead and repeat that pattern, and I will meet you back here in just a second. Okay, so when you get done with that row, you are ready to remove your stitch markers, and then you're ready to do the sleeves. And the sleeves are fairly simple. So remember, you have these 2 stitch markers here that were the ones that you were leaving, so that you will know where the shoulders are. So now when you're ready for the sleeves, you're going to pick this up, and you're going to start at this stitch marker and kind of go out here to this chain 3, or this chain 1 space out here. And what you're going to do is essentially it's going to be 5 stitches this way and 5 stitches to the right and left. So be 1 2 3 4 5, 1 2 3 4 5. So this is the space of your sleeve, and you're literally going to take your hook and you're going to insert it, and you're going to attach your yarn because you fastened off at the last end of the last row. And then you will then go ahead and repeat that process from the main body of the project down here, where you do the chain 3 and the 3 double crochets in those chain 3 spaces. So you would secure this with a single crochet, and then you're going to do your chain 3 spaces across those 10 stitches, and then you're going to do this, the chain 3 up, turn your work, and then go back the other way with putting the 3 double crochets into the chain 3 spaces. When you get to that end, you will single crochet, turn your work, go across with 3 more chains across to create the chain 1 3 spaces, and so on and so forth. And you will do that for the sleeves from row 1 through 14. At the end of row 14, you fasten off and then do the same process on the other side. And then when you're done, you will then fold your piece in half like this and stitch along this edge just to about here where the curve starts is where I did mine to make it secure. And then you can flip it inside out. And then the seam looks really well. And then I did have it inside out. Okay, oops, sorry. We flip it the other way. Okay, so once you flip it inside out, your sleeve will look like this. You can kind of flatten it out a little bit, but this is what your finished sleeve will look like. And you can see here that when we fold it in half, there's the seam. There's 1 2 3 4 5. On the other side, there's 1 2 3 4 and 5. So that is pretty much the basics of this Flutter baby top. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I will gladly answer them any way I can. And if you do complete this project and would like to show me what you have completed, or show others what you've completed in the different yarns you've picked for the project, you can post the pictures of what you have done in my Ravelry group. There's a thread there for finished projects, or whips, or finished objects actually. And then there is also a Facebook group, and I'll put a link to where you can find all those in the description box below. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's new to the channel within the last couple weeks. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you're a previous subscriber, thank you so much for sticking around. And so stay tuned for more tutorials. I plan on working on a pattern for a summer hat that was a subscriber request. But like I said, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And as always, so what is in your craft room today?